stuff too.
Yes. And let me just put it down because
It's
I'm
working.
unavailable.
I'm doing it here, and we are live.
Hello, everybody. Happy 12 o'clock. This is the Nickelodeon Theater live coming to you online. My name is Jamie Drew, and I am here as an artist in residence representing Indie Grits Labs with the Nickelodeon Theater and also representing Columbia Housing Authority. Columbia Housing Authority just celebrated their 81st anniversary serving the community, and I am so proud to be here today with our very special guest. We are hosting a talk back for an amazing documentary called No Address. Now, this film was directed, produced, a little of something of everything by Miss Khalida Harris. So I want to tell you a little bit about her before we start this talk back, before we dive right in about this documentary film, because there's so much to discuss in this hour, you guys. So Khalida Harris is the owner of Reel to Reel Productions and the director, plus more, of No Address, the documentary. In 2006, she founded Reel to Reel Productions, a full service video production company that was originally founded in Tampa, Florida, and now has two locations, one based right here in Columbia, South Carolina, and the other in Atlanta, Georgia, which specializes in films. Now, Reel to Reel directs, produces, films, edits, TV commercials, sizzle reels, documentaries, live events, indie and feature films. Khalida is a humanitarian that believes human life precedes any political agenda. She's a visual voice to the so-called voiceless, and her other credits include script supervisor and editor for the sci-fi series entitled The Hard Pass, and producer for the 1960s drama Through Her Eyes. Everybody welcome Ms. Khalida Harris. Khalida, thank you so much for joining me today. Let's chat.
Yes, let's chat. Thank you for having me, Nickelodeon, for the opportunity to screen my film. It's just been a wonderful journey. And I appreciate you for doing this talk back. So let's get in it.
Yes, let's get in it. Now, the Nickelodeon Theater has been showing your film, and I know they were closed. Well, we were closed. Nickelodeon Theater has been closed for about a year, but has been dedicating itself to partnering with local filmmakers like yourself. And this is their plan, part of their plan to give back and to continuously support that community, although we're in a pandemic and with the closing and everything. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. Tell me a little bit, Khalida, before we dig into your film, how important it is for you as a filmmaker and a local filmmaker at that, to make sure that you have the opportunity to still display your work.
Oh, it's very important. And I really think the pandemic was kind of a blessing for the indie, artists,
Mhm.
because now we are able to self-distribute. Because that was kind of my thing when when the first one, Columbia, South Carolina, came out. That was January 2020. So we were one of the
Okay.
first ones before the theater closed when the pandemic happened. So I was ready to go on tour. Like, people were calling, Rock Hill everywhere. I'm saying, I'm gonna put this in all the theaters. But then COVID hit and I was stuck and I didn't know where to do this. So I found a way to self-distribute. And then Thaddeus, we are in a film collective group, and he was talking about virtual theaters, and he would love to show No Address there. And I started thinking, wheels started turning, well, who else is doing this? And then
Exactly.
I just started reaching out to all of these theaters across the country. So we ended up being in 6 different virtual theaters, and a few of them have already, finished their run. But I think we're still in about 3 of them so
Wow.
far. I think this is
Wow.
a opportunity for indie filmmakers to get in and cash in on their,
Yes.
because we don't have to look to Hollywood to put our info out now. And a lot of people right now are looking for content because their studios are closing where they're reopening now. But just at that moment, people were like, I need content, I need content. So this is the time for us to really look back and see how this pandemic has changed that whole dynamic with streaming.
Yeah, that was really, really perfect. So I'm happy that you jumped on board with that, and like you said, that you have the opportunity to really share without that red tape, right? So
You can reach
let's
a bigger audience too, virtually, than just
Mhm.
being in one location. So
I love it. So your film, let's talk about it. It's a documentary and it's centered around, homelessness in Columbia, South Carolina, but not just Columbia, South Carolina, but across the country as well. Now, I mentioned this before, you directed it, you produced it, you edited it, you were doing a little bit of everything with it. Tell me exactly like how the film came about or how you became an activist for this topic to really put this all in place.
well, I was at my downtown office in Columbia, South Carolina, this 2013, and I read in the newspaper that Columbia City Council wanted to do something about their homeless issue. And there were three options. So one was leave town or go to this shelter on the outskirts of town, or you'll be subject to jail if you're caught on the streets. And I was just appalled because I'm an empath and I would, communicate with the unsheltered community a lot, being downtown where most congregate. And I was, if that were me and I had to disappear, or I may go to jail just because of my status, my situation that I'm going through right now. So like you said, I already have the production company and I said, I'll have all the tools. I love films. So I can filming what's going on around me, and that's how it started.
Okay, so
Right?
you were
Exactly.
living right in the thick of it. You were right downtown with everybody that was experiencing this. So one of the main topics that was highlighted in your documentary was the criminalization of the homelessness, and I really wanted to kind of dig into that term. So tell me a little bit about how did homelessness turn into being a crime?
Well, these are ordinances that
Yes.
been on the books for a very long time, but they just decided, like Judy Turnipseed said in the film, to resurrect these ordinances and to target the unsheltered community. So that can be loitering, panhandling, urban camping, whatever the case is, you can get a citation or you can be subject to jail. And that is nowhere near a solution because going to jail creates so many other problems when you get out and then the issue still isn't solved. Now you have a record. Now you can't get housing. Now you can't get it's just this domino effect. So
Right.
it's once I've learned what was going on, I started branching out to other cities and states. And I realized that almost every state, it's over 180 states or cities are doing this type of damage to the community. So
Mm.
we need to do something about
Yes, and you did do something about it with this film. And so they started to resurrect these ordinances that were in place. You started to do the research and found out that this is really, an epidemic, something going on around the country. And so what other changes have you been seeing besides these ordinances? What is the development that you've been seeing within the homeless community or within some of these ordinances that you think led to this all being put in place?
Well, the business community really has something to do with it because
Okay.
we all have this sense, not we, but they all have this sense of not in my backyard. So
Okay.
business communities kept complaining about it, then I feel like that's where the pressure came from city council to do something. But that isn't the right way to do it. And former councilman Cameron Runyon was kind of spearheading this. And then, everyone kind of followed suit throughout that. But even just with hostile architecture, removing benches, putting spikes in benches, putting boulders up, everything you can do to have the people out of sight, out of mind. But like I said, that does not fix anything.
Right. It just, like you said, kind of sweeps it away out of sight, and unfortunately out of some people's minds. So where is it that, our most vulnerable population, where were they being moved to, at this time when this, I guess you would call it, sweeping was taking place, these ordinances being reactivated? Where were these people forced to go?
Well, it was still a voluntary option to go to this shelter, but they had
Okay.
restrictions. You had to be bused there. No one could just take you there. There was security all around. You couldn't leave there, only if you had a doctor's appointment. So it felt like this encampment.
Mm,
What are we doing, rounding up people and hauling them off, on the outskirts of town so no one can see them. So
yeah.
some people may have had family members, or they just disappeared, where they would go under bridges, go places where they couldn't be seen or found. So it was just up to their discretion to get out of sight so they won't be bullied by law enforcement.
Yeah. You really showed me something with the documentary, because with me, working at the Columbia Housing Authority and being in the homeless programs department and helping to, shelter these people, I actually saw six. I know I was talking to you a little bit about this last night. I counted six people in total that we housed on my program. So I was really happy about that. I can't wait to talk to them after this. Like, I saw you on film, I saw you on film. So, but it makes a difference to really hear it from the people and to know, hey, these are, real live people. So like you were saying before, they were sending them to, I saw in the film that they were calling it a retreat, and they could not leave this particular area unless they had a doctor's appointment or some, I guess, legitimized reason that they felt was okay for them to leave. And so is this location still in existence?
It is still in existence. It's actually the warming shelter now. So when it
Okay.
drops below 40 degrees, that's where they can go to have shelter.
Okay. Okay. I was gonna say, because that really surprised me to see that. There were really some, emotional tugs in the film. And I was saying, when you work in the industry with our homeless population, you see it every day, and you're working through these issues every day. And I really didn't think that I could be surprised by anything, but I really had some emotional pulls. One in particular was when there were people that were feeding the homeless, and they didn't have a particular permit, and they were being hauled off to jail, because of their service to the community. Can you talk to me a little bit about, barriers and restrictions in helping the homeless?
And that wasn't even a thing years ago, until, like I said, resurrected these ordinances or permits that you had to get. And
Yeah.
Food Not Harmed is a huge organization all across the country where they feed the unsheltered. So Judy Turnipseed was over Food Not Bombs in Columbia, and she was having those challenges where she tried to feed, and they said, well, you have to get a permit if you're going to serve over 25 people. Then the price kept going up and up and up and up, just making it difficult, but they fought through to make it happen. So the incident that you're speaking of is in Orlando, Florida. Food Not Bombs affiliate there, they were paying the permits, doing what they needed to do, but the day they didn't have a permit, they would show up and arrest them. So I think we're taking a huge step backwards in humanity when you say I can't feed the less fortunate. I have to pay you to feed someone. That doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. And so that was in Florida. And I know a lot of this was, your film was based in Columbia, South Carolina. What is the correlation between Columbia, South Carolina homeless population and what's going on all across the country?
It's the same issue. Housing, gentrification. That's is what's causing so many people to find themselves on the streets these days. And it's a lot of working class, unsheltered people, but that just don't have enough money to get a home. And some
Right.
have 2 jobs, still not enough. So that's why we have a big affordable housing issue. We see housing going up all the time, all the luxury housing, but we're not complementing it with affordable housing. And we really need to define what affordable means, because $100,000, $200,000 home is not affordable for the average person.
Exactly. You're talking about the average person in this country, and it being too much for the average household income, let alone one person to live in. So do you think that the amount of affordable housing is the issue, or talk to me about, what do you think some of the largest issues that are facing, homelessness right now?
Well, we all know substance abuse, mental health issues, and domestic violence are
Yes.
top, but housing has started to supersede that. And when it comes to mental health and substance abuse, people don't realize that a lot of people get those issues after they become homeless.
Okay.
It's not, many do have mental issues, of course, but just being out there on the streets, if you were out there on the streets for a week, your mind is going to start playing tricks on you. You're going to start getting low to the low to the low when you're asking for so much help and people are constantly giving you the runaround, or go to this service, and then you come back full circle. Well, no one can help me. We'll go here and call them and do this, and the resource list isn't up to date. So you have these people just rat race. And after over a period of time, you're going to start becoming mentally ill or drained,
Right.
So you're going to start feeling it. So I think that's a huge thing that's going across the board. So we need to have services all over. You can't say I have one caseworker for 30 people, because each individual is different, but the main thing for the newly unsheltered is housing. The chronically unsheltered is way more than that.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that there is a correlation all across the board. It's not, oh, well, Columbia's issue is this and this issue.
Okay.
It's more of everybody has the issue. How are they handling it?
Okay. So everybody has the issue and people are handling it in different ways. Have you seen any agencies anywhere across the country that you like their style of how they're handling the issue, that you think are doing a good job or are almost there? What's the good?
There are good, and it's more of the community grassroots that I see that are
Okay.
doing real work, in my opinion, that because they don't have all the funding that you get from United Ways and Continuum of Cares, but if they could trickle that money down to those grassroots organizations, that would be great, or collaborate, because that's what I'm hearing a lot. And I did a podcast on that, grassroots organizations versus corporations. So if we could all collaborate together to say, we're in the office, but you're on the ground, what are the needs? We can come together and provide for you. But I see more people individually doing a whole lot of work that they really should not have to be doing on their own, because that person is going to become stressed over time, because you're taking on so many emotions, and just even filming this, you take on so many emotions. So I say there are people doing it right on the private sector, but I really can't speak as a whole when it comes to the known agencies.
And so what do you say to, the different agencies out here trying to make things happen? Because you mentioned, the small grassroots organizations, and I've heard talk in the community about some of those agencies maybe not wanting to use the larger amount of funds from places like, HUD or things like that, the government funds, because they come with a group of stipulations. You have to serve this type of person that fits in this type of box. Do you feel that money is still beneficial? Do you feel that it's still beneficial for grassroots organizations to partner under those stipulations? Or what do you feel about that?
I can't really speak on that. That just comes on whatever that basis is, what they're trying to do. But I can share that a nonprofit that I know tried to gain money from a bigger corporation, and they wanted them to basically change their whole mission statement, just comply with them to get these funds. And I feel like people should not have to do that. The main goal is to end homelessness and the stigma of homelessness, you know? So whichever way you do it, and if it's right and ethical, I feel like we should be able to collaborate. But for an organization to say you need to change the way your organization operates to match with us, then we wouldn't be having a bunch of different organizations then, right? Because your organization should be able to do it all. But that's not the case. Everybody has their strengths in what they do. And I feel like we should collaborate better. And this whole good old boy system has always been in place. And now it's time to change that.
So it's so important for, you doing the documentary to bring awareness. It's so important for platforms like the Nickelodeon Theater bringing this talk back so that we can discuss it throughout the community. Have you gotten any feedback and discussion from any government officials or, people in places that could help you? Because really, everything is always about the money, right? And so we definitely want more money and want to be able to do more things and to not only have more money, but to reorganize the way we're able to use the money. And part of that is through, letting our community officials know what exactly it is that we want and need from the people that are on the ground. So have you had any feedback from anybody in positions on boards or anything to be able to assist with making some changes that we need in this community?
Well, I've reached out to a lot of officials in Columbia and in Atlanta, and I've had some Zooms and spoke with some people, but that's kind of where it started and ended. So I'm a member of the National Coalition for the Homeless, and they are one of the best organizations, I'm going to shout them out, that policy changers and give you the facts on what's going on and will write the proposals, write things in legislature. They're there on Capitol Hill. Like, I love what they're doing. And right now, the American Rescue Plan has trickled down billions of dollars, about 5 billion just in affordable housing. So people that have nonprofit organizations, I would encourage them to go to your continuum of cares and say, let me have some of that money, or let's sit at the table and see how we can allocate that money. Because even through the CARES Act, they had to give some money back because the money wasn't used. And that's just ludicrous to me, because it can be used in so many different ways, but we're so just try to be strategic on everything. And then sometimes you don't get anything done because you're thinking about it too hard and knowing what the real solutions are. Let's on that. So there are monies out there. So I'm encouraging all of these nonprofits to go out and say, this is what I do. Let's put that into the bill and let me receive this, or let me help you with what you're doing.
Yes. The education for people to know what's out there is so important. And the partnerships are so important because we cannot do this alone. We need all of our brains together. I mentioned before that I'm working at the Columbia Housing Authority, and I do work with continuum of care grants. And, there are specific stipulations and ways and categories in which you have to use the certain buckets of money. And I love being creative and sort of, working with HUD representatives to think outside of the box. How can we use this money? Because you're right, if you don't use the money, you do have to send it back. And we don't want to send any money back because we need that money. And so we have to partner more together across the table with different organizations and all belong to different boards. The United Ways and the Homeless Helping Homeless and all different funding sources coming together so that we can share the information and share how we are getting creative with the funding. So I know last night when you and I were talking, I was saying we need to stay connected. So, we definitely do, because I love thinking outside of the box, and we do need to continue to partner together. And because, a lot of people don't even know some of these programs even exist and that they can be getting help. And, because I get the phone calls all the time, and they are frustrated and discouraged and calling place after place after place. And it really gets exhausting, mentally, physically, and then you don't have the resources. So it's so important for us to partner together, especially those of us like my organization that do have some of the resources that have come down and can apply for some of the resources, because truth be told, there's certain buckets of money that only certain types of organizations are even allowed to apply for.
Mm.
So can you talk about, any other barriers that maybe we can address to funding sources that you wanted to put out there, maybe that we can, educate the people on what's going on and what the trouble is in getting to these funding sources?
Or what other barriers to get to the funding?
Are you experiencing that? Are you saying, because like I was saying before, I know some people don't want to take certain buckets of money because it puts too many restrictions on them. So are you only seeing that, or are you seeing other barriers, or you're not the right type of organization, or the money that came down didn't have enough funding for, like you said before, one case manager for 30 people? What are you seeing as barriers to financial assistance that we need?
Well, the people that I'm referring to does not even know that that amount of money exists. So
Right.
it's not even reaching those people. And then, like you said, the ones that do know, there's all these stipulations. So it's more of, we just assume that they control it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Once we get educated on that, we'll know who to call, what, and
Exactly.
we can say, hey, federal government did this. So education is first. And that's what I'm doing with the people that I know as I get on these Zooms and these calls, because I'm steadily involved, because it's forever changing what's going on, especially during COVID. So I'm really just telling people how they can get involved when they need to. So
Absolutely.
always barriers, from the shelter system to it. It's all systematic at the end of the
Right.
day. And like I said, like I said to people, that government had a century to fix this issue, and it's getting worse. So it's going to really take us to be the change we want to see.
Yes. And I know we talked about different funding buckets and funding sources. I want to break this down so that it's more simplified for people to understand, so they can really dig in and see what's going on and what we're facing here. So the buckets of money that we're talking about usually refer to different categories of people, that the funding sources feel are important to give their money to at this time. So let's talk specifically about homelessness, because a lot of people may be surprised to know that there's different types or different categories of homeless people. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, there's the working class that people really don't know that they are,
Mm-hmm.
The documentary, you probably said, I didn't know, well, you know them kind of personally, but didn't, you would have been like, you would have never known that these people were unsheltered or
Like,
going.
wait a minute, you have a job and
Yeah.
a car? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's not talk about that, because some people won't allow you into these programs because they say you're not homeless enough.
Yes.
So you would have to get rid of your assets so you can become part of it. And what are we doing? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, we're supposed to build people up, especially the ones that are newly unsheltered. We're supposed to say, hey, let's hurry up and get you to a home or get you the resources you need to make that smooth transition. But after a year or so, everything starts deteriorating, mind, body, and spirit,
Right.
And to be qualified for these services with these big agencies, you have to be chronically homeless.
Mhm.
Why can't money be allocated for all types of the unsheltered issues, if you will? So we have the
Yeah.
word, then we have the complacency. Some people are complacent because they've been in this situation for so long. Like I've met someone on Skid Row that was homeless, that has been homeless for over 40 years.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, you see how we have failed human beings? I just don't understand. But there are all types of categories, and
Absolutely.
we need to get better on this definition of what homelessness is. Having no address, can you see that? Having no address and not being on a lease means that you are unsheltered. You're not
Yeah.
part of society, as they say. So people that are have roommates, as they call doubling up, people are sleeping in their cars. Those are the people you don't see.
Right.
Another category. So you can't give me a number to say that it's 554,000, which they've been using that number for years, of any given person homeless, any given night that they're homeless. That doesn't make any sense. When you watch the documentary, what's documented is 3.5 million, right? And
I
then
saw those numbers.
continue to delve in, it gets even higher. So nobody really knows the true number.
These numbers are staggering. When I was watching your documentary, and I'm in this with you, and I'm like, whoa, look at these numbers. It's really crazy. Let's talk about the numbers a little bit. The way that numbers are normally counted, that I'm aware of, is through something annually called the point in time count, or we call it the PIT count, PIT. So this point in time count picks one particular night of the year and counts the homeless people in any particular funding jurisdiction, right? Because this is what HUD wants to know. How many homeless people do you have? So we can determine how many homeless dollars we're going to give you, right? That's what it is in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. So there's people that are counted within the shelters who are already staying there on that particular night. And then there's people who are, in the woods, under the bridge, in their car, in an abandoned building. Let's talk about this a little bit, because you and I had this discussion in the background a little bit about counting everybody on a particular day, not having accurate numbers, because some people don't know if they fit the definition. Some people don't want to be involved, or some people you have to dig way out into, more wooded areas or confined areas to be able to find those people. Not only that, you're talking about human beings here that a one-touch thing, isn't really, making an impact or building a relationship with somebody. So when you have people that lack trust with their government and with their people as a whole, they may not necessarily come out to you on that one night. How can we get better with counting these real numbers?
Right?
And do people actually want to find out the number?
Well, like, you have to watch the documentary to know why they don't. But I say it's really impossible to allocate one day to get all the numbers across America. And then they're not even saying it's an estimate. They're not even saying it's approximate. They're making this like it's absolute number,
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, they pick a day in January, a cold day, very cold day. So even if someone is unsheltered, they may find somewhere to go on that cold day, just so they won't die of hypothermia.
Right.
So you pick a really cold day in January to count all the citizens in America, or non, it doesn't even matter, but all the human beings in America, to say this is the absolute count. And it's gone up 1% or it's gone down a lot. So now we can allocate our funds somewhere else. It's just illusion. And you cannot do that, especially if you don't even have enough volunteers. And then this year in Atlanta, they're going to start May 1st. That's when they're going to do their point in time count. So now you just switch because of COVID. So you just switch the whole, it's just.
So how do we do that better? How do we, because let's just keep it real, to get the funding, we got to make noise, right? We got to let people know what's going on. We got to say, this is how many people there are. This is what is going on. Bring light to the situation like what you're doing. Bring more volunteers out to count. Build more connections. I guess I'm giving all the answers, huh?
And then the thing is, a lot of people don't want to be counted.
Okay.
Using this for, you're making a mockery of me. You have to think about what other people feel when you come up to them and bribe them with a McDonald's gift card. You know what I mean? To say, let me get all of your information.
Yeah.
And who knows? Some of this is just a tactic to know exactly where the people are, and then the next week they're going to come and sweep their encampment.
And so how, I agree.
It's a trust thing, and I went.
I don't want to give away too much of the documentary, but you have a lot of these issues in there. You guys have got to watch this documentary. It is so compelling. It is so real. Nobody's acting in there, okay? No, we're not like, we've changed the names to protect the innocent. Listen, this is really going on in your community. These are your friends, your family members, your community members. How can we, and I do understand, making a mockery of people and spending one time, trying to get their all of their information, social security number and everything, and then it's just it after that day. How can we continue to grow this awareness and get this money without the people that don't want to be counted? How do we count those that don't want to be counted?
I have no idea.
So you're saying we don't have all the answers.
You don't want to be counted. You don't want to be counted. I mean, take that and multiply it times 20. I don't know. You have this good margin of error, so you won't miss any funding dollars. You know what I mean? And then when the moratoriums get lifted, whenever they get lifted, they're talking about a 40% increase in homelessness. So count all of those people. You don't. And then at some point you're going to give up and just say it's just overwhelming. But you can't give up on human life. Everybody's trying to survive and not be exploited.
Exactly.
So I think they should find a happy medium. Once they get that solution, then I can give you an answer. But I don't know. But the way that they're doing it now, it's just been, when you just get complacent, you just feel like the way to do it. And we've been doing it all these years this way. And what's the problem? They don't see the problem, but the people are suffering and the numbers are growing. And then I don't, when they say, well, it's gone down from this amount to this amount, whatever.
Absolutely not.
And then we're seeing more and more people on the streets because it's so much more visible now, especially during COVID when everybody was sheltering in place. And then everyone else were becoming visible and the streets were getting overcrowded. And, shelters had to do like 20% capacity. So you see more and more people on the sidewalks. And then you want to constantly sweep them away, but you can't sweep. It's not trash. Human beings are not trash. Garbage is tied up and it's gone to a landfill. You know what I mean? Human beings are going to wander somewhere, but eventually you're going to pop back up. So we have to be able to have real solutions in place for all the categories of homelessness. Meet the people where they are and don't put people in the same category, like moratoriums, for instance. A lot of those people don't have any issues. They just couldn't pay their rent because they lost their job, right?
True.
All they need is job placement and a home. They probably don't need all those other services because they're not mental, they're not this, they're not that, they're not on any drugs, they're not that. So, but you make people go through the same steps, through the same process, or you're pacifying people. And then that makes other people feel like I'm not a child. But then when you speak up, then they have a right to talk down to you or whatever. And then that just starts bringing down, lowering your vibration. So we really need to start handling people like empaths and really start feeling and being sympathetic of people's issues and meet them where they are.
So I know you said you didn't have all the answers, but you did have some answers, because I really loved inside of the film, you had some calls to action. I wrote a couple of them down and I want to go over them, because you didn't just put the documentary out. You didn't just say, hey, people, look at the problem and put a microscope on it, which is great, to be an advocate and to highlight these issues, but you also put some steps that people can take. One of them you put was, and I was surprised by this, just acknowledge people on the streets. That human connection, you always think, well, what do I need to give? And one of the things that you need to give is yourself. That really surprised me to hear that, but I really like that. And myself personally, I said, okay, I want to make sure that even if I'm not handing anything out of the window, like, sometimes I'm handing people a business card out of the window, like, get in touch with me, but just acknowledging, and even if you don't have anything, just say, hey, how you doing today? How important is that to the people that you spoke to?
That is very important, because that raises so many people's vibration, and especially the ones that are always overlooked and know that they're overlooked. When you do, it's kind of a shock to them, like, it's talking to me, and I'm like, wow, that we have disconnected so much from others. That's why this socially distanced thing is real. It's not, this is socially, where we're not communicating like we ought to and have that human connection. So, and that stemmed from one guy saying, just look me in the eye and acknowledge me, because bottom, when we have nothing, all we want is someone to just acknowledge us. Because every day, if someone doesn't speak to you or someone looks at you like you're scum, how would you feel? All we want to do is make people feel. Doing that, they're not asking for money. They don't want this. They don't want that. Yes, some do, but some people just let me know that that I'm your brother and sister, right?
Yeah. That was so powerful, because a lot of times I wasn't looking at human beings that I may drive past that I see that are homeless, because I may feel embarrassed, like, oh, I don't have anything to give. But hearing that, hearing it from the person who's actually going through, you're like, oh, so I was wrong. But you do want me to look at you and or wave and say, hey, how you doing? Or how's your day? Or keep your head up or anything.
You never know where that leads. That can lead to, I just met this awesome person and we have common, we know this, and then
absolutely
story healing them, they're telling you their story, they're healing you. Like, we never know what can come out just being a human and having a connection.
Yeah, you're right. I love that one. I really do. That one's my favorite. Another call to action you had was to provide showers and laundry service. Oh my goodness. I saw one of my colleagues, she's since moved to another state, but Kathy Hood Pittenger, she was running Clean of Hearts at that time. And they provide the laundry service and the showers for people experiencing homelessness. Tell me how important that is.
That's why I wanted to interview her, because I was like, this is brilliant. And I was actually next door to her in the incubator. I had an office there as well. Wow. That was located right beside me. And then someone gave me the address, and I said, well, that's kind of similar to where I am. And then I just go outside and I told her what I was doing. And she said, I would love to. And I said, this is brilliant just to have that. A lot of people are starting to do the mobile thing, but to have that facility, and it is just operated so well and everyone loves them. Like, that should be implemented in so many different areas, because that bring was solution driven as well. Not all the destitute what's going on in the world, but the solutions. And that's a huge solution. And people can wash their clothes.
That's right.
Take a
And I have worked with her personally. It has led to people being housed, because sometimes you can't find a homeless person that you want to house and you're looking around. Has anybody seen so-and-so? Has anybody seen so-and-so? And she knew exactly where they were. And she knew what day they were coming there in the week to do their laundry. So that was super awesome. I love how you put that there. Ideas for other people in the community to see. I absolutely love it. We're getting a couple of questions in the chat here that I wanted to address. What were some of the challenges in making a film like this?
Challenges in making the film. I can't say that I had many challenges because a lot of people didn't know I was doing it.
You just snuck in there.
Move in silence, you know what I mean? Because if you do tell everybody, then they're going to have a lot of opinions or try to direct you on what to do, or try to put some roadblocks there to make it not come to fruition. So I really didn't tell much, just my inner circle and the people that I was involved with of what I was doing. And it basically took 7 years, but I still had to run my production company, and this was when I had the time. So I can't say I had a lot of challenges. It was just more of the inner challenges that I had of wanting to do much more and wanting to save so many people, and then not even having answers for just the common questions, of housing or where to go. I just did not have any answers because some of that I didn't want to direct them wrong, because some things saw that it wasn't working, and then they can say, well, she told me to do it,
You didn't want that on your shoulders.
I didn't want it on my shoulders, but I really, that was my battle, and just dealing with their life stories was really, challenging, and how to make this a compelling piece for people to actually to start from the beginning, because I'm all about history. I like to know where things start. The inception of it all. So we went all the way back to the 70s to where we are today. So I can't say that I had challenges of people trying to stop this. No, it was destined. When it was hit in my spirit, everything changed for me. I was like, this is my life's purpose.
Yes. And how did you get the people to open up to you in the film?
Well, I'm just me. I don't know. I'm just outgoing, bubbly, like
people like talking to you.
I don't know. So I just asked, and it worked. And then HHH was a huge benefit in getting people as well, because they did a talent show several years, a talent show for the unsheltered. And it was amazing. And Trinessa was directing it. Shout out to you, Trinessa. She asked me to come on board to see if I wanted to add a little flair to it. And I said, well, I want to get to know who these people are. I saw the past shows, but you never knew who they were until you saw the credits, Okay. I wanted like a 1-minute blurb to introduce them before they did their talent. And I kind of just used all of that and said, well, I'm doing the documentary as well, so let me get an interview and we can just do the 2 birds with 1 stone thing. So that worked out, and I just met some amazing people, talented, brilliant. Just hearing their stories was just heartbreaking. And it's like, it's not necessary that you don't have a home, this is necessary. So they were huge in me getting the people. And then sometimes I was just walking around with a camera and went to the park.
And how long did you say it took for you to get all of that?
7 years. I
thought you said 7 years.
It did. So I really went hard, like from 2017 to 2020. That's when I just delved. But it was a little bit from 2013 to 2016. I was doing it in months amidst the business. I had to pay for it. You know what I mean? And then I had my own. So I was, hey, all right, I'm gonna have to put this aside for a little bit. And then when something happens, I'll jump on it. I'll grab the camera, bits and
But
pieces.
never letting go, all those years. So
Yeah.
you just have hours and hours and hours and hours of footage.
Oh yeah, I had over 1,000 hours of footage.
Oh my goodness. And so you had to condense that all down.
All down. It originally was an hour and 30 minutes. That was the director's cut. And then the producer had another producer too. So the producer's cut, we cut it down to an hour 15, you know, to get to the festivals and things like that. Because I didn't want to slight anybody. We worked on this so long, but I know I could have put way, way more into it. So that's why the next piece is going to be episodic within itself because there's just too much information. So yeah.
So okay, the next piece, let's talk about upcoming projects.
Yes.
What is next? Are you alluding to something else?
I am. So No Address Atlanta is next. Hopefully the end of the year. If not, it'll be beginning of 2022. 2022. So that one's going to be a 3-part episodic. So the first one is going to be pandemic versus pandemic. And so you can kind of play on the words and knowing that we're in both. So that's going to be one. Another one's going to hit on the shelters, to go really deep on the shelters. And when they closed the biggest shelter in Atlanta 2 years ago, Peachtree and Pine, that has over some nights 1,000 people. So that was a really big controversial issue. And then to show just how systemic these shelters are, because a lot of people have this preconceived notion of just go to a shelter. Why don't you just go to a shelter? But there's so many restrictions in shelters. And like I said, even if you're working class, if you don't get off in the hours of when the shelter is open, you can't get a bed, you know? And if you have a lot of belongings, you can't take your belongings with you. And it's just so many restrictions.
There's
and then
so many layers. Yeah.
And some is safety, where I don't feel safe being in a crowd of people. I'm an only child. I wouldn't want to be packed in with 300
Yeah.
in the elements, to be away from all of that. So that's one. And then this is inception during the 1996 Olympics and the Super Bowl. So it's going to be intense. We're going to hit on a lot of stuff for Atlanta. And then after
you
that,
got some intense things.
we got to tell the truth, right? That's what it's all about. So then what else? California be next. I've already been there, but I got to go back because a lot has definitely changed since COVID. And I also have the Land Fund, No Address Foundation, that we are being the solution that I want to see, me and my team. So we are definitely building on that, building our communities, because it's already been done. The model has been done. We just need to implement that in a lot more areas.
Wow. Okay. So a lot coming up. I heard you mention the Land Fund at the end, how you are being the change that you want to see. Do you want to give us any more information about the Land Fund? Give us a little something. I know we got to stay tuned.
Yes, so the Land Fund, we have a GoFundMe out right now for the Land Fund. You can just search for No Address Foundation. And we are raising funds to get land. That can be 1 acre, 2 acres, 50 acres, whatever that looks like, to build sustainable communities for the unsheltered. So we want to have alternative housing, affordable housing, real affordable housing. So that can be tiny homes, still homes, container homes, and still homes and container homes can withstand Category 5 hurricanes. So they are definitely sturdy. And then we want to have the wraparound services on the land and have a commercial kitchen, laundry, all of that on the land, mechanics, agriculture, where people can become entrepreneurs through agriculture and carpentry and whatever else you want to do. So you don't have to beg for a job. You can become your own self-sustainable entrepreneur. So we want to do transitional housing, permanent housing, all of that. So we'll start with whatever, and you can even donate land if you like. So
tell them how they can reach you. Tell them how they can support you to donate.
Yes, support me. You go to noaddressdocumentary.com and everything's on there. All the information, all the tools, the resources, the press, you can view No Address Columbia. It's still out there on some virtual theaters, but I will always house it on the site once that goes away, so everyone can still have access to it. So just go there, noaddressdocumentary.com, and let's stay connected. Sign up for the newsletter, all that good stuff, so you can kind of see our progress.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Khalida. I could probably talk to you for another hour and go on because there's so much education that needs to happen within our community. But I really want you all to reach out to Khalida, help her with her efforts, donate to her efforts, volunteer yourselves, volunteer your agencies, and really partner and collaborate her and whoever else that she is working with so that we can help. Because this is really us, right? Let us help us, okay? So please watch the film No Address, the documentary focusing on homelessness in Colombia and across the country as well. The Nickelodeon Theater is so proud to partner with independent filmmakers like yourself. And also I wanted to say that the Nickelodeon Theater is continuing its efforts to bring issues to the community in film and art culture to the community. We are having in May Filmmaker Focus Festival. That is 3 days to include work in progress screenings from indie grants and wide angle pitch competition and workshops from industry professionals. So they can register and even go on Eventbrite next week to see those things. And you can always go to the Nickelodeon online, find us on Facebook as well, so you can stay abreast of everything that Indie Grits has going on, that the Nickelodeon Theater has going on, and that Khalida Harris's documentary film has going on. Thank you so much. Before we go, one time, I want you to just shout out the other people that were involved in making the film with you.
Yes, so give a shout out to my executive producer, Warren Douglas, excuse me, Warren Douglas, my second camera, Benjamin Bowman, my still photographer, PA, Lamar Stimmage, my associate producer, Heather Hutton, everyone that has helped and contributed and supported this documentary. I love you all. I thank you, Nickelodeon Theater, for giving me the opportunity to have this run virtually. It was successful, and let's continue to do it again for part 2.
Yes, absolutely. And let's continue to do the work. Khalida has told you how you can reach her. Give us the website one more time, Khalida.
NoAddressDocumentary.com.
Yes, ma'am. NoAddressDocumentary.com. Also, to reach me and more information about the work that I do with the homeless at the Columbia Housing Authority through the homeless program Continuum of Care, you can reach me at jdrew@columbiahousingsc.org. I'm an available resource for those within the community. And I'm definitely going to be partnering with Khalida and so many more organizations that we already partner with to make some more changes within our community. So thank you so much again, Khalida, for bringing this issue to our awareness. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your honesty. And thank you to the viewers. And go out there and support those calls to action. Watch the documentary. And until next time, we will see you. Thank you so much.